Which is better, comparison or critique? Hi, I'm Corey Dyson. I'm an artist helping other artists become successful business owners, because that's what we really are as artists, whether we know it or not. But most artists struggle with the business and organizational skills. We excel at creativity. But when it comes down to time management and setting boundaries and staying organized, sometimes those are the areas that artists really struggle in. And this is why I'm here to help you with those so that you can be an artpreneur or an artist entrepreneur. So let's get started talking about critiquing versus comparison and why they are so very different. And it's important to choose the correct one, because yes, there is a correct one. If I could only do one, is I would choose critique, and I would choose to critique my own work. And the reason being is that when you critique your work or have your work critiqued by someone else, it is structured, compassionate, objective, and builds a skill set. And it builds a skill set that you can then make your work even better going forward. Now, a comparison is completely different. When you compare your work to other artists' work, it is not structured in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It is not compassionate. Often it can be cruel. It is not objective. It is entirely subjective. And it tears us down as artists. It does not build us up. It doesn't build anything. It just tears everything down. And when we compare our work to other artists' work, we're doing it typically for one of two reasons. If we compare our work to someone's work who is not as good as ours or not at the same level, or who hasn't been painting or creating for as long as we have, it makes us feel better about ourselves artificially. So this is not a really genuine positive feeling. It's not a lasting feeling. It's not building self-confidence. We're having to put someone else's work down in order to make ourselves feel better. The other time that we compare is when we think our work should be as good as someone else's, and why is it not as good as someone else's? And so we compare our work to someone's work who is better than ours. And what we typically do is we compare it to someone who's been painting or creating a lot longer than what we have. And when we do that, we feel like our work is less than. We feel less than as people, as creatives, as artists. And we then feel worse about ourselves and have lower self-confidence. But when we critique our work, this actually builds self-confidence. And let me tell you about how critiquing our work helps to build confidence. Now, let me go back a second. You've probably noticed I have avoided the word self-esteem. I've done that on purpose. It's one of my pet peeves. I hate the word self-esteem. So if you think about it, when we hold someone else in high esteem, like we hold, let's say, David LaFell in high esteem. He's a master artist living in our own time. And he has achieved wondrous things. We hold him in high esteem. Now let's apply that to ourselves. We have high self-esteem. Doesn't that sound kind of narcissistic? Yeah, that's the first problem I have with it. The other problem that I have with it is that as therapists go about trying to work on self-esteem, they're working on the superficial aspects of it. They are not improving self-confidence. And self-confidence comes from competence. So confidence comes from competence, meaning you have done something hard or challenging. You have accomplished something you didn't think you could accomplish. You have worked hard towards something that was a worthy goal, and you have completed it. That is competence. That is building competence. When you build competence, you build self-confidence. And building self-confidence is something that we all want to do, we all need to do really as humans. We are not going to build confidence from sitting around and talking about our feelings. Sorry, therapist, but that's just not going to happen. Competence only comes from actually doing something. So when we think about critiquing is when we sit down and we look at our work and we look at it in a structured way, objectively, and we may sometimes compare our work to another artist's work that we want to emulate. And we may look at that and we may go, okay, are my values similar? Do I have a strong value contrast? Or we may look at the use of color, or we may look at the underlying design structure. And we look at that and we say, how did I do on this artwork? And how did I do as far as meeting these objective standards? And when we do that, we can say, okay, I have work to do on the value structure. I need to make sure that my values are clearer. I need to have fewer values. Or maybe I need to do more of, instead of 50-50 value balance, where 50% of the painting is light and 50% is dark. It's kind of boring. Maybe I need to shoot for 90% dark and 10% light, or 10% dark and 90% light. Either of those work. But maybe we need to learn to change our value structure to make it more interesting and more impactful. So then we set about doing that. And when our next painting, we work on that. And so we go from a 50-50 value structure to maybe a 75-25 value structure. We can go and look at that and visually look at both of our paintings and go, there is a difference here, and it is an improvement. That is building competence, which then builds confidence. And this is why self-critique is so powerful and so beneficial. But when we just simply compare our work to other artists' work without that structure and without that objectivity, and we just say, oh, I should be painting better than this. Why am I not painting as good as this artist over here? Then that tears us down. It tears our self-confidence, and it makes us feel worse about ourselves. And when we feel worse about ourselves, our painting and our creativity suffers. Now, I'm still, even though I know comparing my art to other artists' work is not good, it's not healthy, I still catch myself all the time. But that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to catch myself and then trying to stop myself from just blindly comparing my work to other people's work. So if you would like more information on how to actually structure a self-critique, if you want more information on what a good self-critique would actually look like, comment below, and I will be happy to go and talk more about this. But for today, I just wanted to get across that critique is 10 times better than comparison.